Hey everybody, welcome back to the WRESTLEDUDE YouTube channel, as here today we are going to be doing a little review of NXT 2.0, the first episode, as I literally just finished watching it. I didn't get to watch it live, I was at work, so immediately waking up in the morning and checking it out seemed like a pretty interesting way to start the day. A fresh mind on a fresh day, ready for a fresh new look of NXT. So we're just going to hop right into it, but before we do, I want to remind you guys to leave a thumbs up on the video, and let me know in the comment section below what you guys personally thought of NXT 2.0, which apparently is going to be the new name. There was like some news reports and stuff like that came out early today saying that that's going to be the new name. I don't really know why we need it to be called 2.0. I mean, there's been many iterations of NXT. I don't get why this one needs to be specially called 2.0, but I mean, it is what it is. But let's move on to how the show started off, and that was showing off the brand new look, the brand new arena, which I went on record in one of my previous videos talking about it, that I really liked the setup. The high-raised seating, the entranceway looked fine. It was really just how the coloring would look. The coloring's still bad. Honestly, I feel like if they had just kept it to the black and gold coloring, I feel like it would have looked really good in this arena. Another big change that they went from was, and I talked about this in the video where I specifically talked about the new arena, was instead of a traditional black barricade, they now just have like this small plexiglass barricade going around the ring, which I thought was an interesting choice. But I mean, I've never heard of any fans trying to jump the guardrail at like NXT shows, so I feel like it's going to be fine where it's at. The whole arena as a whole, the setup looks good. The coloring, the color schemes just do not work for me, but it's a small nitpick. But we start off the show, we get promos from all the competitors in the main event title match, which is interesting. When we see one from Kyle O'Reilly, you'll understand why once we get onto it. But LA Knight's promo is cut off by a new face of NXT 2.0, the son of one of the Steiner brothers. His name was formerly Rex Steiner, and now his new name is Bron Breakker. Let that set in for a second. Bron Breakker. And not just Breaker, it's Breaker, but with two K's in it. So it's Bron Breakker, if you think about it. So yeah, anyways, LA Knight's promo is interrupted by him, and LA Knight challenges him to a match to start off the show. We get it, LA Knight versus Bron Breakker. And Bron Breakker, God, I hate that name. What was wrong with Rex Steiner? Seriously, the guy looks like his dad. He dresses like his dad. Why not just give him the same last name? He had the freaking sirens in his entrance. Whatever. The more I think about this, the more time I waste about the review. Bron Breakker wins with a military press power slam. Very surprising upset. I had LA Knight winning in the Fatal 4-Way matchup. I thought he was going to be the new NXT champion, but after seeing this, my chances of him winning drastic go down, as another Steiner would have said. But yeah, this was a pretty interesting thing to start off the show. New face versus a current face, and the new face won, so already injecting some new blood into NXT. I'm just going to call it NXT. I'm not calling it NXT 2.0 anymore. We move on. We get a tag team matchup. Josh Briggs and Brooke Jensen versus Imperium. More new faces. Imperium win after a little bit of offense for the new guys, but we still get the whole idea of Imperium running through the tag team division on their way to MSK, which should be a very fun match. And like I said, we got some new faces in Josh Briggs and Brooke Jensen. Next up, we get the in-ring debut of B-Fab from Hit Row. This matchup was pretty much over before it started. B-Fab wins, and then Legado del Fantasma come out, and then they tease B-Fab versus Elektra Lopez, and then Legado back off. One thing that I want to note here, I think I might have skipped maybe like 1 week of NXT and I think I like read some spoilers and stuff like that, just kind of like the gist of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm caught up next week. And then the next week came, and Legado came out. Sorry. And Legado came out, and they had a woman with them. And I was so confused, like, who is this woman? I had to go back to the last week of NXT to see. Sorry, I got something caught in my throat. I had to go back to the last episode of NXT to see it was Elektra Lopez who had debuted and joined Legado del Fantasma, so that was an interesting thing to see. So yeah, this basically sets up a women's singles match between the two. Should be interesting. I don't know if they do a multi-person match, Legado versus Hit Row, but that could be cool too. We get a backstage segment featuring Johnny Gargano, Cameron Grimes, and Odyssey Jones. Austin Theory returns, and with him brings along Damian Priest, which was a pretty cool bit to see. I had my money on Austin Theory interrupting the wedding. The last time we saw him, he was kind of saddened with the way, so I thought maybe he'd come back, interrupt the wedding, be mad at Johnny Gargano, like, oh, I was your favorite son and now you're all in on Dexter Loomis being your new son-in-law, so I'm gonna beat the crap out of both of you. But after seeing him kind of return like this, a little lackluster, but still a very fun bit. I liked that they brought back Damian Priest for that little joke. I thought that was very fun. There was a lot of like little Easter egg references in the wedding. There was the freaking zombie referee, for God's sakes. That was pretty damn funny. Moving on, Carmelo Hayes comes out with Trick Williams, another new face on NXT, and basically says that Trick is his bodyguard, protecting him now that he has the contract for any championship match that he wants. And then very, very quickly, Trick seemingly turned on Carmelo Hayes and asks why he's being so humble now when he used to be like, don't miss, takes what he wants, whatever. And then even quicker, Carmelo Hayes then basically turns heel. Both guys had a really great promo, and then they start to leave. Duke Hudson comes out for his match, and then Duke Hudson gets attacked by Carmelo Hayes and Trick, and that kind of sets them up as like a heel force, so that's pretty cool. Already given Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes sort of their character direction, which is pretty cool. I think it'd be great to have Carmelo Hayes as sort of like the stalking like NXT number one contender and use that contract as sort of like a Money in the Bank briefcase type of thing. And this moves us on to the women's stuff of the night, or at least some of it. There was supposed to be a women's championship match tonight, but I don't know what the heck happened to it. It must have gotten cut or something. But we have JC Jane and Gigi Dolan backstage, and they're talking to Mandy Rose, and they tease a new Mandy Rose. Now, I saw this, I'll get onto it later, but this was just interesting to see. So we get JC Jane versus Gigi Dolan, or JC Jane and Gigi Dolan versus Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro. But this quickly breaks down when Mandy Rose joins the fight, and then Sarray joins the fight, and we get a 6-woman tag. Now, I was at work, and I was on break. I was on my 10-minute break. I went to the break room, and I turned on the TV just to check out what was going on. I saw a little bit of this tag team match. When I saw this brunette woman, I had no clue who it was. I thought it was just another member of Mandy's whole group. But then I got home, and I looked online, and I see all the screenshots, and it's a brunette Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose's new look is that she's brunette. To be honest, first glance, I don't really like it, to be honest. I mean, I thought blonde Mandy Rose was fine, but I mean, hair coloring is a very small thing, to be honest. I don't think it's going to ruin her or anything like that. She was still very good in this match. Team Mandy Rose wins after Mandy hits a great V-trigger for the win. They were looking, there was like a tweet that NXT put out asking what the name of this group should be. I feel like you should call it the Rose Garden. But we'll see what comes out of that. And then we get Ridge Holland coming out for his matchup. We go to commercial, we come back, and there's a backstage segment with William Regal, where William Regal says Kyle O'Reilly is no longer clear to compete for the Fatal 4-Way. And he is going to be replaced by another new wrestler by the name of Von Wagner. I have many questions about this, but my biggest question is, if Kyle O'Reilly wasn't scheduled to compete, how in the hell did we get a backstage promo from him at the beginning of the show talking about how he's going to be in the match? Did it literally just happen? Like, between the time... It was just weird how this was all set up. I mean, the promo could have been recorded, like, yesterday or something like that, but even then, like, it was just weird. But we move on to our next match. Drake Maverick, with a new guy in his corner, Grayson Waller, faces Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland wins with ease. Another new guy, this time in the corner of Drake Maverick, which was interesting. We got a Tommaso Ciampa backstage promo talking about the main event. Diamond Mine comes out with a new member, and it's a girl. And then we get... we cut to commercial, and then we get perhaps my favorite, well, maybe second favorite thing on this entire episode of NXT 2.0. We get a promo segment from a new wrestler, another new wrestler coming to NXT. His name is Tony D'Angelo, and he's walking through the streets of Chicago talking about how his family are owners in different... He basically said his family are mobsters, and he used to be an amateur wrestler. His family said that there was no money to be made in amateur wrestling, but he said that there was money to be made in NXT. And he's coming to NXT very soon. It looked cool, but I like the idea of a wrestler whose family is a mobster. You know, like, I can imagine backstage segments where, like, he's trying to get a title match with William Regal, and, like, he brings a bunch of mobsters with him. He's like, get his fucking legs, Tony. And stuff like that. I feel like that could be very funny. So I'm interested to see what they do with this new guy, Tony D'Angelo. It could be pretty cool. And this brings us into the next match, the Diamond Mines Creed Brothers versus Dan Jarman and Trevor Skelly. The Creed brothers win with ease, and then Malcolm Bivens gets in the ring and introduces this new woman of the group named Ivy Niles, who's apparently on the Titan Games. I had never seen the Titan Games personally. I had seen only commercials, so pretty cool to have her on. Her look is very cool. She had, like, chains draped over her neck, although the way her hair was tied up, I thought the chains were tied into, like, her ponytail hair, which I thought would have been an even cooler look, but I mean, even just having the chains around her neck looked pretty cool. And this whole promo brings out Kushida. I'm glad that Kushida's back finally, and it sets up the long-awaited title match next week between him and Roderick Strong. I wrote down here, I kind of wish this was an Iron Man match, just even like a 30-minute Iron Man match. I think that could be fun, you know. Kushida's whole, like, sort of gimmick is, like, Back to the Future, time, Iron Man, you have to deal with time, kind of, who knows. Maybe we'll get multiple matches down the road, and an Iron Man match could be one of them. But Kushida versus Roderick Strong is going to be a awesome match next week. I'm very excited for it. And this sends us into the last match of the night, our main event match, I should say. Pete Dunne versus LA Knight versus Von Wagner versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship. One of these things is not like the others. Tommaso Ciampa wins after hitting LA Knight with a fairy tale ending. It was a fine match. Tommaso Ciampa winning the NXT Championship again after not holding it for 908 days was a very surprising outcome, especially since he's had this whole tag team thing with Timothy Thatcher. It just kind of seemed out of nowhere. That's why I thought either LA Knight or Pete Dunne was a pretty clear choice for this. But, I mean, I'm a little okay with Tommaso Ciampa winning. It's just that it's a babyface Tommaso Ciampa. And a babyface Tommaso Ciampa has never really interested me, to be honest. I've always been a big fan of the heel Tommaso Ciampa, although I do have faith. I do have faith considering what happens at the very end of the show, and we'll get onto that later on. But this was a fine match. Von Wagner being in it, I guess, pretty cool for him at least, to have him on a pretty big spotlight in his debut match here on NXT. But let's get on to the real main attraction of the show here tonight. We had the wedding of Dexter Loomis and Indy Hartwell, and this was... I was laughing a lot throughout this entire thing. This is probably my favorite wrestling wedding of all time. You can take your Macho Man and Liz, you can take your, who was it, Chelsea Green or Laurel Van Ness and Braxton Cutter, you can take all that and you can shove it up your hole. The Index wedding was very fun. We had Johnny Gargano walking Indy out to the ring, and the way he was walking looked like he had a limp. It was just so weird. He was just stopping like for long periods of time between each step. It was very weird. And then they get in the ring, and Johnny asks Austin Theory if he has the rings, and Austin says like, "We're in a ring. We don't need it." And then Ichiban, I think that's his name, Ichiban, standing next to him, reveals that he has the rings. The priest then asks if anybody objects, and then everyone in the ring starts to slowly raise their hand. And I put in my notes here, what a bunch of assholes. And then Dexter Loomis slowly opens up his like tux to reveal that he is holding an axe inside of his tux, and he shows it off to everybody, and then immediately everyone just puts their hands down. I thought that was very, very funny. Indy says her vows, and they're amazing. She starts telling a story about how Loomis stuck into her room one night to like spend the night with her while Johnny and Candace were asleep, and the entire crowd is just losing their minds at this. It was amazing. And then we move on to Dexter's vows, and he doesn't say anything, he just gives a thumbs up, and everyone loves that. But then the priest berates him for it, and so Dexter Loomis knocks him out. And then afterwards, everyone's wondering like who's going to be the priest. People are cheering for Damian Priest to take over. People are cheering for William Regal to take over. And then Beth Phoenix comes up and says last night she logged on to some website and got ordained. So now she's going to be the minister. And then she says, let's cut to the chase. And then Andre Chase stands up and says, like, did someone say Andre Chase? And then Odyssey Jones makes him sit back down. And then finally we get to the whole, like, do you take so-and-so to be your lawfully wedded wife, husband? Indy says, I do. Dexter at first is silent, and then as Beth starts to continue on, Dexter covers up her microphone, and for the first time ever on NXT TV, Dexter Loomis actually says something, and he says, I do. And that's it. The crowd cheers. You may now kiss the bride. Dexter and Indy kiss, and that's how the wedding ends. Nobody interrupting the wedding, no crazy swerve or anything like that. We are getting Index as a married couple on NXT. I don't know how long it'll last. I'm sure there'll be some sort of comeuppance down the line or something like that that'll break off this whole thing. But yeah, it seems pretty interesting. And this leads into the final segment, the final little bit at the end of the show. The camera pans out from the wedding, from a TV shot of the wedding, which I thought was a pretty cool camera shot, and it shows Tommaso Ciampa watching the wedding. And, you know, this was kind of the two last things in this show were sort of, and that's why I have them on the thumbnail, these are two different sort of love stories. You have Indy and Dexter Loomis coming together, and then we got the story of Tommaso Ciampa and Goldie finally coming back together. So two love stories coming to fruition here on NXT tonight. So anyways, Tommaso Ciampa is watching the wedding, and then all of a sudden, Braun Breaker walks in and confronts him. They congratulate each other on a great night. They shake hands. Braun is looking at the NXT Championship, and then the show goes off air with both men staring at each other and breathing heavily. This was an interesting way to end the show. I was fine with the whole confrontation. It was just, I think it kind of lingered a little bit too long. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like, honestly, you could have just cut this off from the episode and just ended with the wedding being the final shot, but I guess you needed some sort of cliffhanger leading into the next thing. So I'm guessing this is going to be the first, like, sort of feud for Tommaso Ciampa and the NXT Championship, which will be interesting. Braun Breaker versus Tommaso Ciampa. Could be pretty cool. And then obviously you've got Tommaso Ciampa versus Pete Dunne for the title. You got Tommaso Ciampa versus Kyle O'Reilly for the title. I wouldn't mind Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano again for the title. I feel like it's been enough time has passed to where we could possibly get that feud again. Could be pretty cool. Overall thoughts on NXT, this new look. I thought it was a very fun show. Lots and lots of new faces. I know a lot of people were pretty bummed about the whole idea of like WWE and NXT not signing any more indie talent, as they called it, and more focusing on their homegrown. I'm actually kind of okay with that, just because, like, you know, after a while, it did seem like NXT was signing too many indie guys and not working on enough of their own homegrown guys. I know it's sort of a bad name to bring up right now, but Velveteen Dream, for the most part, was an NXT homegrown guy. And he was a very good wrestler. Now, outside of the ring, we're not going to talk about that. But, you know, I do think that the WWE need to focus on growing their own stars. And if they start with the blank slates, then maybe people won't be so mad when they see something different on NXT TV, as opposed to them signing an indie guy that has made a big name for themselves on the independent scene, coming to NXT, and then that indie guy's whole character being changed. Then I don't know. Maybe I'm explaining it weird. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. But yeah, I was okay with all the new faces. I'm very interested to see where all of them go, especially Tony D'Angelo. That's a guy that I'm definitely going to have my eye out for. Tommaso Ciampa as the new NXT champion should be interesting. I don't know when Samoa Joe's coming back, but when he does, that's going to be a very interesting matchup between the two. Indy and Dexter being a couple is going to be very interesting to see how they interact. Just a lot of interesting stuff heading into this new era of NXT. Like I said, the setup looks nice. The lighting and coloring still sucks. Just for the love of God. I did it as a joke, but a while ago I did like a photoshopped image of the NXT Championship with a new strap of the belt with like a white strap with like splattered paint all over it, sort of like the new logo. I was joking when I made that, but with them changing the lighting and everything, I'm very worried that that could be the next step, is they change all the championship titles to match this new era of NXT. So I guess we'll find out in the coming weeks and the coming months what happens. Will they even call their pay-per-views takeovers? There's so many questions to be answered, and I can't answer them right now. We'll have to see what happens next time on NXT. But yeah, that was my little review of NXT in its new era, and its new form, and its new format. Let me know what you guys thought of the new era of NXT in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time.